and welcome back to another video feature of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. Today I'm at Disney's California Adventure at their rethemed area Cars Land. And specifically I'd like to focus on the issue of effective nostalgia as it relates to creating captivating, immersive, and themed spaces. If you've had an opportunity to listen to any of my other video features about Cars Land or DCA, you know that Disney has done a quite remarkable job, as you see here, in creating vistas, in creating thematic spaces, spaces that evoke many things for us. In this case, of course, you see Route 66, the kind of nostalgia that we may associate with spaces from the past, with movies, with road trips, with family vacations. And specific to nostalgia at Cars Land, I would point to a series of ways in which a designer of a space may use techniques to create nostalgic associations. As you'll see in some of the images and videos in a bit, color and lighting, the use of specific objects such as the road cone that I'll address later with the Cozy Cone Hotel, and also themes or contexts as you'll see with cars and racing, and then specific places such as Route 66 which may have associations with us. So begin to walk through some of the thematic areas here. Specifically I'm around the Cozy Cone Hotel. You'll see that there's a use of color that is quite evocative. In this case, orange of course has associations with the roadside cone, and this is very operative in connecting not just to Americans' sense of nostalgia and their own past and connection to cars and the highway, but of course also to the fictional and created Disney animated feature which is very successful, named Cars. I think color then is one way to achieve effective nostalgic connections with guests. And of course we might say that nostalgia is something that is highly subjective. In some cases we're affected by it and we don't know why, as I discovered as I was walking through the many areas of the Cars theme land at DCA. And the other thing I would point to again would be certain themes or contexts, such as here this Luigi tire ride, which relates to of course automobiles and even connects to food associations, which also can have highly nostalgic values in creating connections and opportunities with guests. And I would say too that lighting plays a key role in the creation of nostalgia, as you'll see in just a bit in some additional images that I took at Cars Land at night. And I think one of the things to say is that nostalgia is a powerful opportunity to create an effective, immersive, or themed space. Nostalgia, as I'll address later in a short diversion, focuses on the idea of memory. And some have said it's even memory with the pain removed, which suggests to us that we don't want to remember everything about our past, whatever our past might be. We want to remember certain key elements, and particularly the high points, the happy points. And so it may be up to the designer of the theme or immersive space to use nostalgia in a very positive way. And this of course becomes difficult in some museum spaces or spaces that are deliberately dealing with a very dark or disturbing past. And again, I would say, in addition to the lighting that you see here in my images that I took while visiting DCA, I'd also point to some of the context. The roadside motel is one example here. I mentioned the association with cars and food earlier. And if you think about roadside motels, if you think about diners, if you think about Route 66, these are all places that have vivid associations for people, and in some cases they recall a time that was perhaps a better time of the past that perhaps could be connected to in the present through forms of theming and through forms of immersion. Hi, and I wanted to jump in with this quick diversion and focus on another key aspect of nostalgia as it relates to the theming at Cars Land. And I was thinking about this and discovered this when I was working on the video for this feature. And specifically, I was touring the area near the Cozy Cone, which I was quite taken with. And one of my colleagues, research colleagues, Dr. Filippo Carla, had commented on this and was also intrigued with my intrigue with this particular theming that was evident in Cars Land. And as you can see here, we had a chance to visit one of the, I would almost call it a museum to cones, which was part of the whole theme here, ranging from the pyramids to traditional cones to all other sorts of imaginable variations on the cone, which again, I think in terms of my previous discussions about use of objects and familiar objects, this is part of the game, part of the play of nostalgia. So Dr. Carla and I were in one of the gift shops, and he purchased this card for me, which you could see here is identifying the Cozy Cone Motel, a clean place to stay. And if you look at it, it has the print quality of a typical postcard that you might get from a roadside Route 66 type of attraction from back in the day in America. On the back, of course, it has the Cars Land logo and DCA, Disney's California Adventure. But again, the front, in terms of how they've created this not quite distinct image, it reminds me of some of those old German postcards of Coney Island that I've collected myself, and even the font and the text on the bottom, Cozy Cone Motel, the gateway to Ornament Valley on US 66. Of course, this is based on the movie Cars. This is fictional, just as the movie Cars, of course, is fictional. But by using familiarity and incorporating elements like the objects, like the colors, like the landscape Route 66 architecture in this particular example of a souvenir, and also, as you've seen in some of the video I've been featuring, in the many aspects of the theming of the land itself, there is an opportunity to connect with the guest in such a way that they have a memorable association with the particular theming. And I was also thinking about how working on this reminded me of the famous quote about nostalgia by the eminent critic David Lowenthal. And he was writing about this in such a way that, of course, he was being critical of nostalgia, saying that nostalgia is memory with pain removed. But I'm actually using it in this way in a positive sense, because again, I would say that for a lot of us, things like postcards, particularly from our childhood, brings up very fond memories of family vacations, of being places as we look back at them today that are no longer there. And I think a lot of the theming of Cars Land specifically uses this type of nostalgia, playfully uses this idea of memory without the pain incorporated in that memory. So nostalgia for me is a positive thing, and it's a thing I think that is very key, and it's something that you can identify in many successful themed and immersive spaces, and certainly we see that at Disney's California Adventure with their $1.1 billion revamping and theming in Cars Land.